And as AI continues to evolve, the organizations that thrive will be the ones that combine technological power with empowered, skilled, and thoughtful security teams. Okay, my lovely on-stage assistants have set the stage quite nicely for our final panel discussion of the day. So, as urban environments get smarter and our skies more connected, the space between them is becoming one of the most dynamic and vulnerable frontiers in modern technology. So our panel, Cities, Skies, and the Future Between, explores how we protect that entire ecosystem, the physical infrastructure, the digital networks, the critical services, and the emerging technologies that link our cities to our skies. It's a forward-thinking conversation on securing the connected world, from smart cities to smart skies and everything in between. So on that note, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our moderator, Nora Aldeghaim, Senior Manager for Riyadh Airports here in the KSA. Thank you. Put your hands together, guys. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hayallah al-Jami'. And welcome to our session today, which is City, Skies, and the Future Between. I joined today by two leaders who bring complementary perspective, one from an aviation and enterprise cybersecurity leadership lens, Mr. Badr Alogaili, VP of Cybersecurity at Flynas. And the other from strategic advisory and board-level viewpoint, Mr. Abdullah Aljaber, Cybersecurity Advisor and Board Member. Just before we start, today's conversation is about how cybersecurity is evolving as our environment becomes deployed connected. From smart cities on the ground to aviation and critical infrastructure in the skies, and everything between them. We will explore how the mindset, new risks are emerging, and what resilience, feasibility, collaboration in large-scale connected systems. First of all, thank you both for joining us today. And to start our discussion, over the past few years, we have seen a clear shift how cybersecurity is discussed, not just as a technical function, but as a business and social enabler. And from your point of view, Mr. Abdullah, over the last years, what has been the biggest shift in how connected cities and aviation hubs think about cybersecurity?
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for coming in. I believe the biggest change of mindset, as you mentioned, is the shift from thinking cybersecurity is just an IT function, just support function, is to become an enabler where they support the innovation, they support the moving forward on the implementation of the smart cities, the aviation, and et cetera. And we've seen a lot of big incidents that happened where that mindset has been shifted. CrowdStrike that happened before, the target with the supply chain, where they now put the cybersecurity in the big table with the management and executive management to discuss any movement and any changes or innovation, to have the cybersecurity mindset at the beginning, which is clearly a support for the nation and the resilience of the companies and the countries.
Okay, and I totally agree that this shift in mindset is naturally change what organizations start to worry about, and especially in digital services, expand and scale. So going to you, Mr. Badr, I want to hear, as urban services and air travel become more digital, what new risks are emerging today that simply weren't in your radar a few years ago?
What I can pick on a certain risk that I can consider one of the top 5 risks that each organization need to put it on their radar is the supply chain issues, which is deeply impact any organization that heavily invested in digital infrastructure that is diverse infrastructure and having a different nature, which and why is this is important to look for? Because the supply chain issues is very hard to detect, extremely difficult to remediate from if you don't have a proper business continuity management and resilience program that help you to rectify from such incidents. As we see in the, as Abdullah mentioned as well, certain incidents that happened in the past and deeply impacted any service provider, not especially in aviation sector, but it may be also transportation or telecommunication or any other sector. Supply chain issues still something with time need to be tackled properly.
Agree with you, Mr. Badr, and just to add one or few risks that maybe hand in hand with the supply chain, which is innovation, speed, and the pressure to deliver the service itself. So going back to you, Mr. Abdullah, where do you see the biggest point of friction between innovation and security in your respective industry, including the supply chain as well?
So we see that innovation is going in an incredible speed. There's a lot of changes, there's a lot of technologies coming in, AI coming in, IoT, OT, and all in between, where cybersecurity is still lacking behind to protect these new technologies and tools. Keeping up with these tools is very critical. Thinking of not just implementing tools or technologies, but thinking of the full frame to protect the environment, no matter what kind of innovation that is happening. And keeping up with that is very critical for cybersecurity team to keep up with the innovation and to support the innovation rather than putting it behind or becoming a wall to stop it.
Agree for this point that those friction points often force leaders to take some decision or rethink or prioritize the task in their ground. So from your point of view, Mr. Badr, what is one recent development, whether technology shift or an emerging threat, that has meaningfully influenced your security strategy?
What I can think of is the diverse infrastructure, the digital infrastructure that many organizations have in any sector is important to look for and modify, customize the cybersecurity strategy to be flexible enough to deliver options, to look ahead while developing the strategy to make sure we are ready for such business needs. Because in my experience, in different sectors and different organizations, drivers are different. We need to be ahead as a cybersecurity. We need to be first, not come last, not to be last, because this will cost the organization much higher cost if we are not doing our job correctly, if we are not planning ahead for any technology that's going to be procured or embedded with any organization. That's what I think is important, to have a cybersecurity strategy flexible enough to accommodate any business needs.
Agree that strategy today doesn't live inside like a single organization anymore. It lives across the ecosystem itself. So from your point of view, Mr. Abdullah, both cities and aviation environment rely on large ecosystem of partners and suppliers and so on. So what is the toughest part of managing that securely? So
for cities, and especially for big organizations and as well as aviation, they cannot be a one-shop spot for everything. So they have to rely on a lot of ecosystem in supply chain. And that's where the biggest friction, which is the third-party risks. The third-party attacks has been increased heavily. We see a lot of the attacks coming from third-party and partners, not directly hitting the organization, where we think they are trusted. I think we talked about CrowdStrike, for example.
Yes.
It's a trusted cybersecurity control. However, they have an issue where impacted lives, impacted travels. Recently with Cloudflare, we have a small hiccup with the system. Now you cannot even go to your gym which is critical to people's lives. So having good visibility in your third party, having awareness on all these third party, detecting all of these issues early stages, so you can start enabling your BCM framework. You have secondary options to continue the service rather than just wait for the fix.
That's great. So when many dependencies are existing, resilience become more critical. So especially in environments that cannot afford any downtime, like airports and so on. So from your point of view, Mr. Badr, what role does resilience play in the world, and how do you think about avoiding single point of failures?
To pick on the supply chain issues, the key to recover from such risk is to have a proper business continuity plans that is being built on business needs. And from what I'm seeing at certain places, the continuity plans is sometimes is being oriented on technology, which is not entirely correct. What we need to do is to make the business continuity plans service and process oriented, because when the failure happens, sometimes you never know which part from your infrastructure is happening. So the deep understanding of how the process works, especially in integrated services that heavily rely on other suppliers, is important to have an orchestrator within the organization or multiple organizations to understand how the process flows, then design a proper plan to make sure no matter what, we will recover from such issues.
Agree with you, Mr. Badr. And just to add one more point, which is having all this control in the role of resilience and the feasibility, it's most important to knowing what is matters and where we have to focus. We want to hear from you, Mr. Abdullah, as everything now become more connected. What does good feasibility actually look like from your perspective?
So tapping to the discussion where visibility is critical. Knowing exactly what is happening, where it's happening, and when it's happening is important to have that full scope 360 visibility. And visibility meaning we have it in one place as well. Not scattered everywhere, not scattered with a lot of tools. And doesn't mean that you have a lot of logs pushed to your, let's say, SIM or tool. You need to have the important information when it's time and the alerts that you need to detect. It's not about what fires and what not. It's all about how do you see it and how do you react to it quickly and on time to prevent any attacks or to prevent any downtime for your critical infrastructure. And that's where an ecosystem has to be in. It supports IoT, OT, it supports any sort of technologies to be embedded in one place. And now we have all cloud services as well. They have different tools and different logs as well. You need to know exactly what logs you require and to have the full supply chain of attack as well in your logs.
Yes, like the surface itself to be all visible. So feasibility and resilience doesn't stop us within one sector. They incredibly depends on other collaboration and industry across the industry itself. So from your point of view, Mr. Badr, where do you see the strongest opportunities for collaboration between aviation, city services, telecom, or transport overall?
What I see is real examples on the ground right now is being derived by Saudi Vision 2030 and also derived by the national regulators that are pushing each one in the sector to have great examples of integration and collaboration. And I can mention an example which is great, the open access in the telecommunication sector is a great example of collaboration that allow the home subscriber to pick any internet service provider on top of any cloud, in any infrastructure to have. Also, it's been extended to have also the seller network unified, which is a great example of collaboration. And I'm sure we will see another great examples in all sectors and among multi-sectors as well to achieve what we are looking for in the next year, inshallah.
Agreed with this point, since it is most important point for the collaboration. And as we start wrapping up, I would like to leave the audience with something actionable. So we would like to hear from you, Mr. Abdullah. If you had to leave leaders in smart cities and connected services with one actionable takeaways, what should they start, stop, or rethink immediately?
So if I want to start with something which is very important, is to have cybersecurity embedded in even initial discussions of initiatives or designs or innovation. Having cybersecurity in the beginning of that will support to protect the initiative or the target, as well as to prevent from any attacks or even extra costs that will happen later on. Definitely something to take away. We've seen still the attacks happen from basic services. Patch management is still not the best. Asset management recovery is still not the best. These are basics that has to be done and has to start as soon as possible to be closed, so we can focus on the important tasks and the important procedures.
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Abdullah. And one point, or important point that you mentioned, the asset things. So I couldn't find someone who could identify all the assets in their like corporation or anything. So from you, Mr. Badr, as the aviation and critical infrastructure lens, what do you think the one security principle or priority leaders must look into to stay ahead over the next 3 or 5 years?
Excellent. This will be valid for all, not only limited to the aviation, which a call to all cybersecurity leaders, strategy developers, to focus on the business needs. First of all, before thinking of what technology I need to procure or what best for my systems to have as a security tools, focus on the business need is the key to have a successful strategy that is deeply integrated with the business objectives.
Thank you, Mr. Badr, and thank you both for the insight and for grounding this discussion in the real-world experience. What's clear is that securing cities and sky is no longer about isolated network. It's about mindset, resilience, feasibility, collaboration across the ecosystem overall. So thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your Black Hat event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.